Dr. Yellen Voss pressed her thin blue fingers against the ship's control panel. The Harmony's voice floated quietly through space, far from any star or planet. She loved these quiet moments when her research team could work without worry. The Velkari people had always been peaceful. They explored space to learn, not to fight. "Doctor, I'm getting strange readings," called Nira Vel from her station. The young communications officer's crystal-like skin glowed softly in the ship's dim light. "There's something big moving toward us." Yellen walked over to look at the screens. Her people were only 4 feet tall, much smaller than most other races they had met. But they were smart, very smart. The numbers on the screen made her heart beat faster. "How many ships?" she asked. 15, maybe 20. They're huge." Nira's voice shook. "Doctor, they're not responding to our greeting signals." Captain Selin Cass ran onto the bridge. His usually calm face showed fear. "All hands, prepare for emergency jump. Something's wrong here." But it was too late. The first blast hit their ship hard. The lights went out for a moment, then came back, on red and angry. Yellen fell to the floor as the ship shook. "Who's attacking us?" Captain Cass shouted. "We're scientists!" Through the main window they could see the enemy ships. They were dark and covered in spikes. Each one was 10 times bigger than the Harmony's voice. The attackers looked like floating cities of metal and death. "Mortari Empire ships," whispered Nira. Everyone on the bridge went quiet. They had all heard the stories. The Mortari were warriors who took over peaceful worlds. They enslaved anyone who couldn't fight back. Another blast hit them. This time, the ship's engine made a sick, grinding sound. Emergency alarms started screaming. Yellen could smell smoke in the air. "Life support is failing," reported the ship's engineer over the speaker system. "We have maybe 2 hours of air left." Captain Cass tried to keep his voice steady. "Send a surrender message. Tell them we're just researchers." "I already did," Nira said. "They're not listening. Captain, they're sending boarding ships." Through the window, they could see small attack ships flying toward them. Each one carried Mortari soldiers. The Mortari were 8 feet tall with thick armor covering their reptile-like skin. They had been conquering worlds for hundreds of years. "Our weapons?" asked the captain. "We don't have any real weapons," Yellen reminded him sadly. "We're explorers, not fighters." The ship shook again. Systems were failing all around them. The engineering crew reported over the speakers that the main reactor was dying. Soon they would have no power at all. Nira worked frantically at her station. "Captain, I still have the long-range communication array. It's damaged but working." "Send distress calls to anyone who can hear us," Captain Cass ordered. "I already tried the nearby systems. No one's close enough to help." Nira's fingers danced over her controls. "Wait, I'm picking up something different, far away but strong." "What is it?" "It's coming from a system called Soul. The signals are in a language I don't recognize, but whoever they are, they have powerful technology." Yellen looked at the readings. The signals from this Soul system were unlike anything in their databases. Strong, complex, and somehow aggressive. Like whoever lived there was always ready for war. "How far?" asked Captain Cass. 47 light years. Too far for help." The ship shook as the first Mortari boarding craft attached to their hull. They could hear drilling sounds as the enemy soldiers cut through the outer walls. "They're coming," someone whispered. Captain Cass made a decision that would change everything. "Nira, send our strongest distress signal to that Sol system. Tell them what's happening here. Send everything, our location, what the Mortari are." Doing everything. But Captain, even if they get the message, they're too far away to help us. Maybe they can warn others. Maybe someone needs to know that the Mortari are expanding this far out. Nira's hands flew over her controls. Sending now. Maximum power. The message shot out into space at faster-than-light speed. It carried the desperate plea of a dying ship and 200 peaceful researchers who had never hurt anyone. The drilling sounds got louder. Soon the Mortari would break through. 47 light-years away, in a system around a yellow star, the message reached. A blue and green planet. On this world lived a species that had fought wars for thousands of years. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and even tried to destroy themselves with nuclear weapons. But they had also learned to work together when facing a common enemy. The humans of Earth had been listening to space for over a century, hoping to find other intelligent life. They had built powerful antennas and computers to catch any signal from the stars. Captain Minho Park was working the night shift at the Deep Space Monitoring Station when the alien message arrived. He was drinking coffee and reading reports when every alarm in the building started screaming. "Sir," called Yuna Kim from the main control room, "we're getting something incredible." Minho ran to her station. Yuna was the best communications expert they had. If she was excited, it was important. "What is it?" "It's a message from space, but not from any human ship." Yuna's eyes were wide. "Sir, I think we just received our first message from aliens." Minho felt his heart jump. "Are you sure?" "The language is completely unknown. The signal format is unlike anything we use. And the transmission power required." She paused. "Captain, this came from nearly 50 light-years away." "What does it say?" Yuna worked for several minutes, running the message through computer translation programs. Slowly, the meaning became clear. "It's a distress call," she said quietly. "They're under attack. Something called the Mortari Empire is destroying their ship. Captain, they're asking for help." Minho stared at the screen. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and it was a cry for help. "Get me Admiral Jin-Woo Lee," he ordered. "Emergency priority." Within minutes, Admiral Lee was on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, but everyone in the military knew he was tough as steel when his people were threatened. "What's the situation, Captain Park?" "Admiral, we've received a distress call from an alien species. They're under attack by something called the Mortari Empire." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "Are you certain this is real?" "Yes, sir. Our xenolinguistics team is analyzing the message now. Admiral, these aliens seem to be peaceful researchers. And the attackers sound like a military empire." Admiral Lee's face grew hard. "How far away?" 47 light-years, sir." Too far for any normal rescue mission. The Admiral paused. "But perhaps not impossible. Captain, I want every detail of that message analyzed. Wake up the entire Defense Council. If there's an aggressive empire out there attacking peaceful scientists, then humanity needs to know about it." The call ended. Captain Park looked at Yuna Kim, who was still working on translating the alien message. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" he asked. Yuna looked up from her screens. "Captain, I've decoded more of the message. These Velkari, aliens have been studying space peacefully for centuries. They've never fought a war. And the Mortari—" She paused. "The Mortari have conquered dozens of worlds. They enslave or kill anyone who can't fight back." Captain Park felt a cold anger growing in his chest. Humanity had spent centuries fighting against bullies and tyrants on their own world. They had learned to hate those who hurt the innocent. Keep working on that translation, he ordered. And, Yuna? Yes, sir? Start looking up everything we can about faster-than-light travel. We might be going on a very long trip. As the night wore on, more details came from the alien message. The Velkari were gentle scientists who had been exploring space for knowledge. They had families, children, dreams of discovery. And now they were dying because they couldn't defend themselves against a warlike empire. In his office, Admiral Jinwoo Lee was making calls to the highest levels of government: the President, the Secretary of Defense, the heads of every space agency. By morning, the entire leadership of Earth would know that humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they would know that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, there were monsters who needed to be stopped. The emergency meeting started at 6 in the morning. President Martinez sat at the head of the table, surrounded by military leaders, scientists, and government officials. Admiral Jinwoo Lee stood at the front with a large screen showing the translated alien message. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Admiral began, "yesterday we received humanity's first confirmed message from an intelligent alien species. It was a distress call." The room was completely silent. Everyone had heard rumors, but seeing the actual alien text on the screen made it real. Dr. Soman Choi, Earth's top expert on alien life theories, raised her hand. "Admiral, what do we know about these Velkari?" From their message, they appear to be peaceful scientists. Small in size, highly intelligent, and completely unprepared for war. They were attacked by something called the Mortari Empire. Secretary of Defense Williams leaned forward. "And these Mortari? A military empire that conquers peaceful worlds. According to the Velkari message, they've taken over dozens of star systems." The president looked grim. "How far away is this happening?" 47 light years, Madam President. That's impossible to reach with our current technology." Admiral Lee smiled for the first time that morning. "Actually, Madam President, it might not be." He pressed a button, and the screen changed to show technical drawings. For the past 10 years, our scientists have been working on something called an Alcubierre drive. It bends space around a ship, allowing faster-than-light travel. Dr. Tae-woo Yoon, the lead engineer on the project, stood up. "We've built 3 prototype drives, but we've never tested them on long voyages. The energy requirements are enormous." "How long would it take to reach the Velkari?" asked the president. "With the Alcubierre drive, maybe 3 weeks instead of 47 years. The room buzzed with quiet conversations. This was the biggest decision in human history. The president looked around the table. "Do we have ships that could make such a journey?" Admiral Lee nodded. "Our deep space fleet was designed for defending Earth from asteroid threats and exploring the outer solar system, but they're built tough, very tough." General Patricia Hayes, commander of the Space Marines, spoke up. "Madam President, our ships might not be the biggest or fastest, but they're designed by a species that's been fighting wars for thousands of years. We build everything to survive damage and keep fighting." "What would we send?" Admiral Lee pulled up another screen. "I recommend a full battle group. 12 heavy ships, 30 destroyers, and 200 fighter craft, plus support vessels." The Secretary of Defense whistled. "That's half our space fleet." "Yes, sir, but if there's an aggressive empire out there, we need to show them that Earth won't ignore attacks on peaceful people." Dr. Soman Choi had been studying the alien message. "Admiral, I think we need to understand something important. These Velkari seem to have never fought a war. Their message shows no knowledge of military tactics or weapons. Most alien species might be like them." "What do you mean?" Earth is a dangerous planet. We've had ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, and thousands of wars. We're probably much more violent than most aliens." The president was quiet for a long moment. "Are you saying we might be the scary ones?" "Possibly, Madam President. If most alien species evolved on peaceful worlds, then humans might be unusually good at warfare." Admiral Lee smiled grimly. "Then maybe it's time the galaxy had some protectors." The president made her decision. "Admiral Lee, you have authorization to prepare the fleet. How quickly can we launch?" "If we work around the clock, 2 weeks. Make it 1 week." The room erupted in activity. Within hours, every military base and shipyard on Earth was working at maximum speed. The space elevators carried supplies up to the orbital shipyards constantly. Ships that had been in routine maintenance were rushed back to active duty. Captain Minho Park found himself promoted to admiral and given command of the flagship Indomitable Terra. It was a massive ship, built like a flying fortress. The humans had designed it to survive anything space could throw at it. The ship's chief medical officer, Dr. Yunwoo Shin, was preparing for the unknown. "We have no idea what alien biology looks like," she told her medical team. "Pack everything. Trauma kits, surgical robots, blood alternatives, everything." In the weapons bay, Chief Gunnery Officer Kyung-min Jang was loading the ship's armaments. Kinetic kill vehicles that could punch through any armor, plasma cannons hot enough to melt steel, and at the very center, one experimental antimatter torpedo. "Think it'll be enough?" asked his assistant. Kyung-min looked at the weapons that could destroy entire cities. "Let's hope we don't find out." The fighter bays were filled with activity as young pilots prepared for humanity's first space war. Lieutenant Seojin Yang had trained for years to fly in space combat, but he never imagined his first real mission would be fighting aliens. "Nervous?" asked his wingman, Lieutenant Hyemin Park. "Terrified," Seojin admitted, "but those Velkari need help. And if these Mortari think they can pick on peaceful people, yeah. Time to show them what humans do to bullies." In the ship's computer core, AI specialist Hyerin Song was installing new combat programs. She had studied every war in human history, looking for tactics that might work in space. "The good news," she told Admiral Park, "is that most of our battle strategies assume we're outnumbered and outgunned. We're used to fighting larger enemies. And the bad news: we have no idea what we're flying into. These Mortari could have weapons we've never imagined. Then we'll improvise. Humans are good at that." The Marines were preparing for ship-to-ship combat. Lieutenant Dong-Hyun Kim was only 22, but he had trained in every type of fighting known to humans. Hand-to-hand combat, weapons training, tactical assault, even zero-gravity operations. "Remember," Commander Chaewon-ko told her Marines, "we don't know how strong these aliens are. Could be stronger than us, could be weaker. But we know something. They don't." "What's that, ma'am?" "Humans don't give up, ever." In the diplomatic section, Minji Bay was preparing first contact protocols. She had studied every language on Earth and created translation programs for hundreds of possible alien communication methods. "What if they don't want our help?" asked her assistant. "Then we'll help them anyway," Minji replied. "It's what humans do." As the week progressed, more ships joined the fleet. The Seoul's Vengeance, commanded by Captain Sun-Woo Han, was a destroyer known for its speed and firepower. The Busan Thunder, under Captain Gaeon-woo Lim, was built for heavy assault. Each ship carried the best of human technology and the finest of human crews. But they were also carrying something else: the anger of a species that had learned to hate bullies. Dr. Somin Choi was studying the alien message when she made a disturbing discovery. "Admiral," she called Admiral Lee, "I found something in the Velkari transmission." "What is it?" "Hidden in their distress call, there's additional data. Locations of other attacks. Admiral, the Mortari aren't just attacking one ship. They're conquering an entire region of space." Admiral Lee felt his anger grow cold and hard. "How many worlds?" "At least 20. All peaceful species, all unprepared for war. Then it's genocide." "Yes, sir. And if we don't stop them, they'll keep expanding." The Admiral called Admiral Park on the flagship. "Minho, we just learned this is bigger than one rescue mission. The Mortari are wiping out peaceful aliens across dozens of worlds." Admiral Park's voice was deadly calm. "Then we stop them. This isn't just about saving the Velkari anymore. This is about showing the galaxy that someone will stand up to bullies." "Understood, sir. How long until departure?" 6 days and counting. Across Earth, families were saying goodbye to their loved ones. Many of the crew members had never expected to leave the solar system. Now they were going to war in the depths of space. Young Seojin Yang's mother hugged him tightly at the spaceport. "Promise me you'll come home." "I promise, Mom, and I promise we'll help those aliens. I'm proud of you, son." Similar scenes played out across the planet. Humanity was sending its children to the stars, not as explorers, but as warriors. On the final day, Admiral Jinwoo Lee addressed the fleet from Earth. "Crews of the Expeditionary Fleet, you are about to do something no human has ever done. You are going to travel to another star system. You are going to meet alien life, and you are going to show the galaxy what humanity stands for." The massive ships powered up their experimental drives. Energy readings spiked across the solar system as the Alcubierre drives created bubbles of warped space around each vessel. "All ships report ready," came the voice from traffic control. Admiral Park looked out at the stars from his bridge. Somewhere out there, gentle aliens were dying because they couldn't defend themselves. And somewhere else, a military empire thought they could conquer anyone they wanted. They were about to learn they were wrong. "Fleet, this is Admiral Park. Engage Alcubierre drives. Let's go save some aliens." Space twisted around the human fleet as they disappeared from Earth's solar system. Behind them, they left a world holding its breath. Ahead of them lay the unknown, and humanity's first war among the stars. In 47 years of normal travel time, reduced to 3 weeks by human determination and engineering, the galaxy was about to meet Earth's children, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Minho Park felt his stomach drop as the Alcubierre drive shut down. The twisted space around the human fleet returned to normal, and suddenly they were in an alien star system. Through the bridge windows, he could see a red sun and 3 planets in the distance. "Navigation confirms our position," reported Lieutenant Youngman Nam. "We're in the Andros system, 47 light-years from Earth." "Sensors, what do you see?" Science Officer Jiwon Oh worked frantically at her station. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships, lots of them. And..." She paused, her face going pale. "Sir, I'm detecting debris fields around all 3 planets." Admiral Park's heart sank. "Debris from what?" "Cities, sir. Destroyed cities." The bridge went silent. They had traveled across the galaxy to find a war zone. "Communications. Can we reach any Velkari survivors?" Yuna Kim, now the fleet's chief communications officer, scanned all frequencies. "Searching, sir. Wait. I'm getting something. It's very weak coming. From the asteroid belt. Put it through." A strange musical voice filled the bridge. The translation computers worked quickly to convert the alien words into English. "Please, help us, hiding in the rocks. They killed so many." Admiral Park's hands clenched into fists. "Signal the fleet, battle stations, and get me a tactical analysis of those enemy ships." Lieutenant Isel Park, the fleet's intelligence officer, worked with the ship's computers to identify the alien vessels. "Admiral, I count 200 ships in the system. They're huge, sir, much bigger than our vessels. What are they doing?" "It looks like mining operations. They're stripping the planets bare." Admiral Park felt sick. The Mortari weren't just conquerors. They were destroyers, taking everything valuable and leaving dead worlds behind. "Sir," called G1-O. "I'm detecting life signs in the asteroid field. Maybe 1,000 survivors, hiding in caves and abandoned mining stations. Can we reach them? It would be dangerous. The Mortari have patrol ships throughout the system." "Admiral," Park made his decision. "Signal Captain Sun Woo Han on the Soul's Vengeance. Tell him to take his destroyer squadron and make contact with the survivors. Keep it quiet." "Yes, sir." Captain Han received his orders with grim determination. The Soul's Vengeance was Earth's fastest destroyer, built for reconnaissance and quick strikes. With 2 other destroyers, they moved carefully through the asteroid field, using the floating rocks to hide from enemy sensors. "Contact ahead," whispered Ensign Jiho Ryu at the sensor station. "It's a small ship, barely holding together." Through the view screen, they could see a damaged vessel clinging to the side of a large asteroid. It was beautiful in a strange way, with smooth curves and crystal-like windows, but blast holes covered its hull. "Sir, they're trying to communicate," reported the communications officer. A face appeared on the screen that made everyone gasp. The alien was small and delicate, with blue translucent skin and large, kind eyes. It looked scared and desperate. "Please don't hurt us," the alien said in broken English. "We are just scientists." Captain Han felt his heart break. "We're here to help. We received your distress call from Earth." The alien's eyes went wide. "Earth? But that's so far away. How did you travel here so quickly?" "We're very good at building fast ships. Are you Velkari?" "Yes, I am Dr. Yellen Voss. We've been hiding here for weeks. The Mortari, they came without warning. They destroyed our colonies, enslaved our people. How many survivors are there?" "Maybe 1,000 in this system, but across 20 systems." The alien's voice broke. "Millions are dead or enslaved." Captain Han felt the same cold anger that was spreading through the human fleet. "Dr. Voss, we're going to get you to safety. Then we're going to stop these Mortari." "Stop them? But they have hundreds of ships. They are warriors. We tried to surrender, but they kept killing us anyway." "That was their mistake," Captain Han said quietly. Back on the flagship, Admiral Park was learning more about the enemy. The Mortari Empire had been expanding for centuries, conquering peaceful species and stripping their worlds bare. They had never faced serious resistance because most aliens were like the Velkari, gentle and unprepared for war. "Admiral," called Intelligence Officer Isel Park. "I've analyzed the Mortari ship designs. They're built for intimidation and overwhelming firepower against undefended targets. But their armor is weak in several places, and their formations assume they won't face organized resistance. They've never fought anyone who fights back." It doesn't look like it, sir. Most galactic species seem to be peaceful. The Mortari are probably used to easy victories. Admiral Park smiled grimly. Then they're about to get a very unpleasant surprise. Lieutenant Seo-jun Yang was leading a fighter patrol near one of the destroyed planets when he encountered his first Mortari ship. It was massive and covered in spikes, like a floating weapon designed to cause fear. "This is Fighter 7, he reported. "I've got visual on a Mortari patrol vessel. It's ugly, sir." The enemy ship was 3 times the size of a human destroyer, but as Seo-jun watched, he noticed something important. It moved slowly and kept to predictable patrol routes. "They're not expecting resistance," he told his wingman. "Look how casually they're flying. Want to give them something to think about? Negative. Orders are to observe only, but keep an eye on their weapon placements. When the time comes, we'll know where to hit them." On the 3rd planet, a human landing team was making a horrifying discovery. Dr. Yunwoo Shin led a medical team through the ruins of what had been a Velkari city. The buildings were beautiful, made of crystal and light metals, but they were all destroyed. "Doctor," called one of her medics, "you need to see this." In what had been a school, they found evidence of the Mortari's cruelty. The alien children had been used as slaves before being abandoned to die. Dr. Shin felt tears in her eyes as she looked at the small bodies. "Take detailed records," she ordered. "The galaxy needs to know what these monsters did." "Ma'am, how could anyone do this to children?" "I don't know. But I know that humans are going to make sure it never happens again." Meanwhile, diplomatic officer Minji Bay was working with the rescued Velkari to understand galactic politics. What she learned made her sick with anger. "The Galactic Council exists," explained Dr. Yellen Voss, "but they don't have any military. For 300 years there has been peace between the star systems. No one prepared for war because no one expected it." "What about the Mortari?" "They came from outside known space. At first we thought they were just another species wanting to trade. By the time we realized they were conquerors, it was too late." "Don't other species try to help?" Dr. Voss looked sad. "How can they? Most races are like us, small, peaceful, with no weapons. The Mortari are 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor. They were born on a world of constant war." Minji felt a chill. What kind of world? A death world. High gravity, poisonous atmosphere, constant earthquakes and storms. Only the strongest survived. Minji realized something that made her stomach drop. "Dr. Voss, what kind of world do you come from?" "A garden world. Gentle weather, clean air, plenty of food. We never needed to fight for survival." "I see. What would you call Earth based on what I've told you about it?" Dr. Voss thought about the ice ages, volcanoes, wars, and disasters that Minji had described. "That sounds like a death world. Perhaps even worse than the Mortari homeworld." "Then you understand what's about to happen." "I'm afraid I don't." Minji smiled, and, for the first time, the expression frightened the gentle alien. "Earth is about to introduce the Mortari to something they've never faced before. A death world species that protects the innocent. As the human fleet prepared for battle, more disturbing intelligence came in. The Mortari weren't just conquering worlds. They were strip-mining them completely, leaving nothing behind but dead rock. Entire species were being wiped out for their resources. "Admiral," reported Intelligence Officer Isol Park, "I've counted the destroyed systems. The Mortari have eliminated at least 12 different species completely. Billions of beings, all dead. Admiral Park stared at the tactical display showing Mortari ships casually patrolling among the ruins of civilization. Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for combat operations. Sir? They outnumber us 10-1. Yes, but they've never fought humans before. Lieutenant Seojun Yang was back on patrol when he saw something that filled him with rage. A Mortari ship was using captured Velkari civilians as living shields, chaining them to the outside of their hull. Fighter 7 to Fleet Command. The enemy is using prisoners as human shields. Admiral Park's voice came back cold as space. Copy that, Fighter 7. All units, we are now weapons-free. Show these monsters what Earth thinks of people who hurt the innocent. Across the human fleet, weapons systems came online. The crews had seen the destroyed cities, the murdered children, the casual cruelty of an empire that conquered for the joy of causing pain. Captain Gaeonwoo Lim of the heavy cruiser. Busan Thunder looked at his weapons officer. Load all tubes. When this starts, I want to hit them so hard they forget their own names. Yes, sir. What's our primary target? Any ship using prisoners as shields. We're going to show them that protecting the innocent is more important than our own lives. The Mortari commander in the system, General Vraktar, finally noticed the strange new ships hiding in the asteroid field. General Vraktar looked at the small human fleet with amusement. In 300 years of conquest, the Mortari Empire had never faced serious resistance. These newcomers had only 12 large ships against his 200. It would be over. Quickly, send 60 ships to destroy them, he ordered. Keep the rest here to continue the mining operations. Only 60, General? These aliens are probably as weak as all the others. 60 ships will be more than enough. It was the worst mistake in Mortari military history. Admiral Minho Park watched the enemy ships approaching on his tactical display. 60 massive vessels, each 3 times the size of his flagship. But he noticed something important. They were flying in a loose formation, spread out and unprepared for real combat. They don't expect us to fight back, he told his bridge crew. Signal the fleet. Implement Wolfpack Formation Alpha. The human ships suddenly moved like a pack of hunting animals. They split into 3 groups and accelerated toward the enemy at maximum speed. The Mortari had never seen anything like it. Lieutenant Seojun Yang led the first fighter wave. His squadron of 20 small craft dove toward the enemy formation like angry wasps. The Mortari ships tried to target them, but the human fighters moved too fast and too unpredictably. Remember your training, Seojun called to his pilots. These ships are built to scare helpless civilians. Let's show them what real warriors look like. The fighters attacked the Mortari ships' weapon arrays, using precision strikes to blind the larger vessels. The enemy had never faced small, fast ships that could think and react quickly. Captain Sun Woo-han brought the Soul's vengeance in close, to the enemy formation. His destroyer was outnumbered 20-1, but he had something the Mortari didn't. Centuries of human naval combat experience. All weapons, target the lead ship's engines, he ordered. Let's see how brave they are when they can't run away. The Soul's vengeance fired everything it had. Kinetic rounds punched through the Mortari ship's armor like it was paper. Plasma cannons melted entire weapon systems. The enemy vessel, built to intimidate rather than fight, began to break apart. Sir, they're trying to surrender, reported his communications officer. Captain Han thought about the murdered Velkari children, the enslaved civilians chained to enemy hulls. Tell them surrender is not an option. They should have thought about mercy before they started killing innocents. The human destroyer kept firing until the Mortari ship was nothing but floating debris. Admiral Park brought the indomitable Terra into the center of the battle. The flagship was humanity's most powerful warship, built to survive anything. The Mortari concentrated their fire on it, but they quickly learned that humans built their ships very differently than other species. Hull armor holding, reported the damage control officer. Minor damage to outer plating only. Admiral Park smiled grimly. The enemy's weapons were designed to destroy the light, peaceful ships of Garden World species. Against a vessel built by survivors of Earth's harsh environment, they were almost useless. Return fire, all weapons. The indomitable Terra unleashed the fury of Earth. Every weapon system fired at once, creating a wall of destruction that swept through the Mortari formation. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds crumpled like paper under the assault. Captain Jianwu Lim saw his chance when several Mortari ships clustered together to concentrate their firepower. The Busan Thunder was built for close-range assault, and Lim had always been a pilot who preferred direct action. All hands prepare for ramming speed, he announced calmly. Sir, asked his tactical officer. You heard me. We're going to ram them. The heavy cruiser accelerated to maximum velocity and struck the largest Mortari ship dead center. The impact was so violent that both vessels exploded in a ball of flame visible across the system. But in the seconds before his ship died, Captain Lim had fired every weapon he had directly into the enemy vessel's hull. The explosion took out 3 more Mortari ships and damaged 2 others. Captain Lim's sacrifice is confirmed, reported communications across the fleet. The Busan Thunder is gone, but they took 4 enemy ships with them. The human crews felt their anger turn into something colder and more dangerous. Captain Lim had been a friend to many of them. He had died doing what humans did best, protecting others by sacrificing himself. Commander Chaewon Ko led her Marines in boarding operations against damaged Mortari ships. The humans moved through the alien vessels like deadly shadows, using tactics the enemy had never imagined. Remember, she told her troops, free any prisoners you find. Everyone else is a target. The Mortari soldiers were 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor, but they had never fought beings like humans. The Marines used their smaller size to move through the ship's ventilation systems, appearing anywhere and everywhere at once. Lieutenant Dong-Yun Kim found himself face-to-face with a Mortari warrior in a narrow corridor. The alien was twice his size and armed with a weapon that could cut through steel. The Mortari laughed. Little creature, you think you can fight me? Dong-Yun smiled and pulled out a device the alien had never seen before, a human combat knife and a small explosive charge. Let's find out. 3 minutes later, Dong-Yun was helping freed Velkari prisoners escape, while the Mortari lay dead behind him. The human Marines were proving that size and strength meant nothing against intelligence and determination. General Vraktar watched in horror as his 60 ships were systematically destroyed. These humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They used tactics that seemed insane: ramming attacks, suicidal fighter runs, boarding actions against superior numbers. But it was working. More than half his ships were already destroyed or crippled. Send the rest of the fleet, he ordered. All ships attack. General, that will leave our mining operations undefended. There won't be any mining operations if we don't stop these humans. 140 more Mortari ships moved toward the human fleet. Now the odds were over 10-1 against Earth's forces. Admiral Park saw the massive enemy reinforcement approaching and felt a moment of doubt. His fleet had already lost 3 ships, including the brave Busan Thunder. Could they handle this many enemies? Then he looked at the rescued Velkari civilians on his bridge. Dr. Yellen Voss was working alongside human officers, helping to coordinate the rescue of her people. Despite being from completely different worlds, humans and Velkari were working together to fight evil. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," he broadcast. "The enemy is throwing everything they have at us. Good. It means we're winning. Remember why we're here. Remember the children they murdered. Remember that someone has to stand up to bullies. Today, that someone is us." The second wave of battle was even more violent than the first. Mortari ships swarmed the human fleet like angry insects. But the humans had learned something about their enemies. The Mortari were used to easy victories. They had never developed real fighting skills. Lieutenant Youngmin Nam hacked into the Mortari communication systems using human computer techniques. What he heard made him sick, but also gave him an idea. "Admiral, the enemy commanders are panicking. They've never faced resistance like this. They're sending contradictory orders and arguing with each other." "Can you make it worse?" "Yes, sir. I can insert false orders into their command network." "Do it." Within minutes, Mortari ships were receiving orders to retreat, attack, and regroup all at the same time. Their formation fell apart as confused commanders tried to follow impossible instructions. Dr. Yunwoo Shin worked frantically in the medical bay, treating wounded crew members and rescued aliens. She had performed the first successful surgery on a Velkari patient, saving the life of a young alien scientist. "Doctor," called her assistant, "we're getting reports of Mortari wounded asking for medical help." Dr. Shin paused. The Mortari had murdered children and enslaved innocents, but they were also injured beings who needed help. "Treat them," she decided. "That's what separates us from them. We help everyone, even our enemies." The Mortari wounded were amazed to receive medical care from the humans they had been trying to kill. Many had never experienced mercy from an enemy before. As the battle raged, something unexpected happened. Young pilot Hyemin Park was shot down, but managed to crash land on the surface of the third planet. She was injured and surrounded by Mortari ground troops. "Human pilot, surrender, and you will be treated according to military law," called the Mortari commander. Hyemin laughed despite her injuries. "You want to know about military law? Here's what humans think about people who murdered children." Activated her fighter's self-destruct system, taking out herself and the entire Mortari patrol. Her sacrifice saved a group of hidden Velkari civilians who would have been discovered and killed. The tide of battle began to turn when Captain Ji-hoon An discovered the Mortari's greatest weakness. Their ships were controlled by centralized command systems that made individual thinking difficult. "If we can disrupt their main command ship, the whole fleet will be in chaos," he reported to Admiral Park. "Where is it?" "The largest vessel, staying back from the fighting. It's heavily defended." Admiral Park looked at his depleted fleet. They had fought magnificently, but they were running low on ammunition and had lost several ships. "Signal all remaining vessels. We're going to do something the Mortari will never expect." "What's that, sir?" 6 months after the Battle of Andros Prime, Ambassador Yuna Kim stood before the Galactic Council for the first time in 300 years. The great chamber on the neutral world of Nexus Prime had been built for peace, not for dealing with warriors. Representatives from 47 different species filled the curved seats. Most of them were small, gentle beings like the Velkari, scientists, philosophers, and artists who had never imagined they would need to discuss war. "Honored delegates," Yuna began, "I am here to request membership in the Galactic Council for the Human Species of Earth." A ripple of nervous whispers filled the chamber. Everyone had heard about the humans by now. the species that had destroyed an entire Mortari fleet to save strangers they had never met. Counselor Thelis of the Andronian Republic stood up. The Androrians were tall, thin beings with silver skin who had been philosophers for thousands of years. Ambassador Kim, your species has shown great courage, but you have also shown great violence. How do we know you will not become the next Mortari Empire? Yuna had expected this question. Counselor Thelis, may I show you something? She activated a holographic display that showed footage from Andros Prime, but instead of the battle scenes, it showed human medics treating wounded. Mortari soldiers, human engineers helping to rebuild Velkari cities, and human teachers working with alien children. This is what my people did after the fighting ended, Yuna explained. We could have enslaved the survivors or taken their resources. Instead, we helped them heal. Dr. Yellen Voss stepped forward from the Velkari delegation. Honored Council, I was there when the humans arrived. They came 47 light years not to conquer, but to save lives. Many died protecting my people. That is not the behavior of an empire. It is the behavior of guardians. Counselor Marin of the Celestial Collective raised a tentacled arm. But, Ambassador, your weapons technology is far beyond anything we possess. Your ships are built for war while ours are built for exploration. How can there be balance? Admiral Sungwoo Kang, formerly of the Human Fleet and now commander of the new Galactic Defense Initiative, stood up. Counselor Marin, that is exactly why you need us. The galaxy has been peaceful for 3 centuries because no one expected the peace to be broken. But there are other aggressive species out there. The Mortari were not unique. He activated another display showing deep space sensor readings. Our long-range scouts have detected at least 6 other military empires beyond the current borders of known space. Eventually, they will find you. When they do, you'll need someone who knows how to fight. The chamber fell silent. Most of these species had never considered that there might be other threats in the vast galaxy. Counselor Jiho Ryu, Earth's cultural anthropologist and the human expert on galactic politics, stepped forward. Honored delegates, let me propose something different. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. Let us be your shields, not your masters. What do you mean? Asked Counselor Thelis. Create the Terran protocols, rules of engagement that allow humans to respond to threats against peaceful species, but prevent us from conquering or controlling anyone. Think of it as cosmic peacekeeping. Dr. Soman Choi, who had spent the last 6 months studying galactic civilization, had learned something important. The galaxy has been peaceful because every species that survived to reach space was naturally cooperative. Aggressive species usually destroyed themselves before achieving interstellar travel. Earth is different. We nearly destroyed ourselves. Many times. But we always chose cooperation over extinction at the last moment. That makes you very dangerous, observed Counselor Marin. Yes, Dr. Choi agreed. But it also makes us uniquely qualified to deal with other dangerous species. Captain Minho Park, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, addressed the Council's concerns about human military power. Delegates, I understand your fears. But consider this. If humans wanted to conquer the galaxy, would we be asking for permission? To join your council, we've proven our military capability. Now let us prove our peaceful intentions. Young Cadet Siwoo Kim, representing the new generation of humans growing up among the stars, spoke last. Honored Council, I was born on a ship traveling between worlds. To me, aliens aren't alien. They're neighbors. My generation will grow up protecting the galaxy not because we have to, but because we want to. This is our home now, all of it. The council debate continued for 3 days. The peaceful species were torn between their need for protection and their fear of bringing warriors into their society. Finally, Councillor Thelis called for the vote. All in favor of accepting humanity into the Galactic Council under the proposed Terran protocols? 41 species voted yes. Only 6 voted no, and they were the species that lived closest to the galactic rim where other threats might emerge. The motion passes, Councillor Thelis announced. Humanity is welcomed into the Galactic Council as our first protector species. The chamber erupted in both cheers and worried whispers. The galaxy had just changed forever. Over the following months, the effects of human membership became clear. 17 peaceful species signed protection agreements with Earth. Human ships began patrolling the outer systems, watching for threats. Engineer Nayeon Oh led the development of new defensive technologies, combining human military engineering with alien scientific knowledge. The results were impressive. Shield systems that could protect entire planets, sensor networks that could detect hostile fleets across vast distances. The Velkari proved to be humanity's greatest allies. Dr. Yellen Voss worked with human scientists to develop new medical techniques, while Velkari mathematicians helped improve human navigation systems. But the most important change was the simple fact that the galaxy was no longer defenseless. When the Razorback clans, another aggressive species, tried to invade the peaceful Harmony systems, they found human destroyers waiting for them. The battle was short and decisive. Admiral Hylan Wu, commanding the patrol fleet, sent a simple message to the Razorback commander. This system is under the protection of the Terran Defense Force. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Razorbacks had heard about Andros Prime. They withdrew. Trade began to flourish as peaceful. Species no longer feared traveling to distant systems. The crystalline merchants, who had beautiful but delicate ships, started using human escort vessels for dangerous routes. Captain Daeun Moon discovered something wonderful when she established the first interspecies research station. Different. Species working together could solve problems that none of them could handle alone. Human determination combined with Velkari mathematics and Andronian philosophy created breakthroughs in faster-than-light communication and energy production. Not everything was easy. Some humans struggled with their new role as protectors rather than explorers. Lieutenant Minji Park led counseling programs to help human crews adjust to working with aliens who were nothing like their former enemies. The biggest surprise came when the Mortari survivors sent a delegation to Earth. The few remaining members of their species had spent months thinking about what they had learned from humans. "We came to conquer," their spokesman explained to Admiral Jinwoo Lee. "We believed that strength was everything, but you showed us something we had never imagined. Strength used to protect the weak rather than destroy them." "What do you want?" "From us?" Admiral Lee asked. "To learn. Our species has been warlike for so long that we forgot any other way to live. Perhaps you could teach us to be guardians instead of conquerors." It was an unexpected request, but very human in its hope for redemption. The few surviving Mortari were given a chance to rebuild their culture under human guidance. The greatest test came 2 years later, when long-range sensors detected something terrifying. A massive fleet was approaching from outside the galaxy. Ships from a civilization so advanced and hostile that they made the Mortari Empire look like children playing with toys. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Panic filled the chamber as species after species reported that their defense fleets were hopelessly outmatched. Admiral Minho Park addressed the council with calm confidence. Delegates, this is exactly why humanity joined the galactic community. We've spent the last 2 years preparing for this moment. How can you possibly face such overwhelming odds? Asked Counselor Thalos. The same way we always have. Together. Admiral Park activated a display showing the new galactic defense grid. Every species has contributed something to our defense. Velkari mathematics for targeting systems, Andronian philosophy for tactical planning, crystalline engineering for shield technology, and human determination to make it all work. The invasion fleet arrived to find not the scattered, defenseless civilizations they expected, but a united galaxy ready to fight for its freedom. The Battle of the Galactic Rim lasted 6 days. Human ships led the charge, but they were supported by vessels from dozens of species. The Velkari had learned to build warships guided by their mathematical precision. The Androrians used their philosophical training to predict enemy movements. Even the peaceful Harmony systems contributed by providing mobile hospital ships to treat the wounded. When the battle ended, the invasion fleet was destroyed. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned that they could fight together and win.